Fisker was an aspiring American EV brand. Their goal was to rival Tesla, but everything went south.
I think it's just the worst car I've ever tested.
After this one scathing review, the company began to collapse.
My name's Russ Whitlow. I work for Fisker.
Oh, okay.
Soon enough, Fisker was bankrupt. Is it possible for a YouTuber to kill a billion-dollar company? The story of Fisker is wild, but as it turns out, there's a crucial part that most people don't know about. This is how a YouTuber killed Fisker, or at least appeared to. But just what exactly even is Fisker, and how did we get here in the first place? Well, it was founded in 2016 by Henrik Fisker. Remember that name because it will become very important later. The company was extremely ambitious. In 2017, they announced patents for a new solid-state battery technology.
It's a brand new battery and is actually called flexible solid-state battery technology, and that means...
and made big claims at the 2018 Consumer Electronics Show. We believe that solid-state batteries are the future for electric vehicles. This attracted a lot of attention and a lot of money. They even got backing from the heavy machinery giant Caterpillar to advance the technology. Then Fisker unveiled its first car.
This isn't your typical electric car. This is how you make a statement without saying a word.
The Fisker E-Motion, a luxury EV car with the new solid-state battery technology. It had 400 miles per charge, had butterfly doors, would cost $129,000, and was called the Tesla Killer, at least by Fisker. It could have been a Tesla killer for all we know, if it actually came out. Yeah, the E-Motion never actually made it to market. Not only that, despite all the hype, Fisker quietly abandoned solid-state battery technology. Henrik said that it's the kind of technology where when you feel like you're 90% there, you're almost there, until you realize the last 10% is much more difficult than the first 90%. So Fisker turned their attention elsewhere and eventually revealed a car they would bring to market. The Fisker Ocean, a stylish SUV which used the traditional lithium-ion battery. Fisker wanted to disrupt the industry with a cheaper yet stylish EV. The Ocean SUV would cost as little as $37,500. Still not a cheap car by any means, but for EVs, that's pretty cheap. Ford's EV SUV, the Mustang Mach-E, started at around $42,000, and GM's Chevy Blazer would be priced at about $45,000. It would even offer a cheaper EV called the Fisker Pear, priced at $29,900, making it one of the cheapest EVs in the world. Founder Henrik Fisker said, "We created this vehicle with the idea that young people living in the world's big cities need innovative, versatile, and affordable mobility." According to Fisker, their cars would be technological marvels.
A car still takes 4.5 years to develop, which means when you buy a new car today, the technology in that car is probably about 3 to 4 years old. So we wanted to change that, which is why we created a development process that is less than 2.5 years, which meant we can put technology in this car that are 18 months away before start of production.
The Fisker Ocean was packed. It had a solar roof, meaning it would charge and increase the car's range when parked. It had a giant 17-inch touchscreen that could rotate. The wheels and plastic inside the car were made with eco-friendly recycled materials. Then people got the car, and that's when things began to go wrong. It all began with a simple YouTube video.
This might be the single weirdest automotive reviewing experience I've ever had.
On February 17, 2024, Marcus Brownlee dropped a video on his car review channel, Autofocus. The title, "This is the worst car I've ever reviewed." To be fair, the review started out with a lot of praise.
The fundamentals are actually fine. I actually think it's a pretty handsome trim, a pretty good looking car, and I think these are very comfortable seats. I've been driving these a lot of miles now at this point, and I found these seats very comfortable, and that also applies to the back seat. And it's actually to the point where I would say that this is the best back seat experience. Stowing someone in the middle seat here, you've got a nice screen back here that you can turn on your HVAC controls and pop out some tiny cup holders. This is all good stuff.
But then Marcus began to show the car's quirks, and there were a lot of them.
Because for starters, The software in this car is very incomplete. Turning the steering wheel, you can actually accidentally press these buttons. This one doesn't do much if you're not in cruise control, but this one will literally restart the song you're playing.
Keep in mind, the Fisker Ocean was released to the US market in June 2023, about 8 months before this review, yet this wasn't even the worst of it.
The driver assistance systems fail on me several times. I've had the driver attention thing beep at me many times before. This car also doesn't seem to have hill hold. So brake hold is a pretty common feature in new cars where you pull up to a stoplight, depress the brake, and it will hold the car in place. It's electric, it should be able to do that. This car, you pull up to a hill, it will literally start rolling backwards if you take your foot off the brakes. It doesn't have brake hold. I found that insane.
It's important to note that there were many other reviews of the Fisker Ocean, and the most highlighted similar issues.
I think the theme here is it's just a young company that doesn't really know exactly what they're doing with a lot of these choices yet, or hasn't considered all of the things necessary to make a great tailable car. I feel like it's gonna take a long time for this car to be acceptably usable given how many issues I've had with it.
Unfortunately, Fisker didn't have a long time. People often ask me where we get the footage for these videos. The truth is, making content like this takes a lot of work, but one tool that's made it way easier over the years is the sponsor of today's video, Storyblocks. Storyblocks is a stock media subscription that gives you unlimited downloads of high-quality videos, images, music, and more. Unlike other platforms, you don't pay per image or per clip. Just one simple monthly or annual fee with no hidden costs, and you get unlimited access to their entire library. Everything on Storyblocks is royalty-free and clearly licensed, so you don't have to worry about copyright claims. And with the subscription, you can even whitelist your channel. One of the best things about Storyblocks? Everything is created by real artists. No AI-generated content here. Their new Restock collection is packed with high-quality footage that captures real emotion and genuine human stories, the kind of visuals that truly bring your videos to life. I can honestly say that subscribing to Storyblocks is some of the best money I've ever spent, period, as it saved us thousands of hours when it comes to sourcing footage and editing. If you're a creator or want to become one, Storyblocks is a no-brainer. To get started with unlimited stock media downloads at one set price, head to storyblocks.com/logicallyanswered or click the link in the description. Thank you to Storyblocks for sponsoring this video.
My name's Russ Whitlow. I work for Fisker.
Oh, okay. How can I help you?
Well, can I pull your fingernails out as part of an inquisition? I've got to ask you a couple of questions if you don't mind.
You see, Marcus tried to get a car directly from Fisker, but they delayed again and again. Eventually, fed up with waiting for a vehicle to review, he borrowed one from a car dealer, but Fisker wasn't thrilled about this.
Fisker couldn't get one to us, and then they somehow found out that we got one, and they didn't want us to review this one because there's a really big software update, a big 2.0 update coming to this car.
Of course, Marcus was going to review the car and how he received it, which, keep in mind, is the car that the public had been using for about 8 months. Marcus likely expected to release the video, return the Fisker Ocean, and be done with it. He even ended the video by saying he was rooting for Fisker because competition is good. But this video set off a long line of dominoes. Almost immediately, things began to unfold. The review quickly gained attraction, and in just 10 days had 4 million views. It quickly became the most viewed video on autofocus, and to this day is still the #1 spot. Discussion about Fisker quickly spiked online. Naturally, the company caught wind of this.
He's blowing up social media. He's got all the senior management from Gira Fisker down.
Because he's talking crap on the Fisker, right?
A senior engineer at Fisker reached out to the dealership to figure out why the company was in flames.
So he reached out to us and was like, hey, can we use your Fisker to review it for a YouTube video? And we were like, yeah, sure. So we're getting the Fisker back right now. So you want to talk to him and see if you can calm him down or something?
You lent him your car.
Yes.
He's blown up social media. And I'm just trying to get this into the right context.
Fisker was in damage control, and unfortunately for them, they let something slip.
This 2.0 software.
Yeah.
It will fix a lot of problems, but it's not the holy grail of fixing Fisker. that I'll be quite candid about. It's still got some holes in it. We've still got some more software to redo. We've got a little bit more to revisit.
As it turns out, Fisker couldn't update their vehicles over the cloud. If you wanted a software update, you had to manually take it to a dealership or have a technician come out to you personally. Imagine if Teslas did that. Despite Henrik Fisker talking about having the most modern technology and faster development, it had many issues. While less efficient and costly, it's safe to say there is a reason other cars take so long to get to market. It's so they don't have issues like these. In just a few weeks, Fisker's share price dropped by 50%. Things were bad, but there was hope. But as we know from the phone call, 2.0 wouldn't bring Fisker's salvation.
But a lot of it still comes down to the fact that this is Fisker's own software. It doesn't have Android Auto, it doesn't have CarPlay, and it's still a bit of a laggy, buggy mess.
There were some improvements and fixes to be sure, but many of the core problems were still there.
By pressing this button for a couple seconds, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 seconds to rotate the UI and be usable again, and there's still just more delay than I would expect for a new car that costs $50,000-$60,000.
But even with these improvements, it didn't really matter. Fisker was losing money fast, too fast. There was no coming back. Fisker filed for bankruptcy on June 18, 2024, less than 3 months after the second review dropped. This prompted even more discussion. People accused Marcus of killing Fisker and how much power influencers and reviewers have today. He even released his own video discussing the phenomenon.
You don't get those bad reviews without the product being bad to begin with, obviously.
But something doesn't add up. Tesla's first car wasn't good either. The Roadster was littered with problems and criticized everywhere, online and even on TV.
This review came out and it killed this company. This review bankrupted all of Fisker, maybe. Like, there was a whole Morning Brew thread on how Fisker handled this video so poorly that they're now gonna go bankrupt because of it.
Even today, most would agree that Teslas lack the refined experience that you would find on a Porsche or Mercedes for the same price. Yet, they became the most dominant player in the EV industry. How did Tesla survive and Fisker die? Well, there's a lot more to this story and a lot more to Fisker. Take a look at Fisker's share price history. Where do you think Marcus Brownlee's first review is? Here? Or maybe here? No, it's actually all the way here. The stock price did tank 50% after his video went live. That's 50% of about 78 cents. This tells us something crucial. Fisker was in trouble long before Marcus Brownlee ever got to it. In 2023, Fisker reported a net loss of $463 million. They quickly began cutting costs, including 15% of their workforce. They were also desperate for more funding. In their 2023 financial report, Fisker stated that if we are not successful in obtaining any of these additional incentives and we are unable to find alternative sources of funding to meet our planned capital needs, our business and prospects could be materially adversely affected. Corporate lingo for "we're at death's door." Fisker halted its EV production and looked for salvation. In March 2024, just after Marcus Brownlee's review dropped, Fisker was in close talks with Nissan for more investment and partnership. They would supposedly invest $400 million. This would be their lifeline, but just a few weeks later, the deal fell through. Maybe Nissan saw Marcus's review? At this time, their stock was delisted from the New York Stock Exchange. This is not even mentioning the 3 separate times that Fisker was investigated for faulty doors on the Ocean that just wouldn't open, causing severe safety concerns. But what about the Fisker Pear, the cheap model that would make EVs affordable for everyone? Well, like their solid-state batteries, it was a big claim, but $30,000 was a promise that went nowhere due to their financial troubles. There was also something weird going on behind the scenes. Fisker couldn't figure out where its cash went. That's right, millions of dollars in customer payments were allegedly gone. Reportedly, there was some internal payment crisis. One past employee said, "Checks were not cashed in a timely manner or just lost altogether. We were often scrambling to find checks, credit card receipts, and any wired funds a few months after a vehicle was sold." Then an external audit was conducted, or at least attempted. The giant consulting firm PwC couldn't complete it because all the documents were missing or incomplete. The firm kept asking Fisker for more information and more documents, but they just couldn't provide them. Paperwork being collected wasn't always being collected in full or sent to the same places, said another employee. CEO Henrik Fisker said, 2023 was a challenging year for Fisker, including delays with suppliers and other issues that prevented us from delivering the Ocean SUV as quickly as we had expected. But there's something that he failed to mention. Many of these delays and supplier issues were self-inflicted. By that, I mean they had failed them. For example, a customer service company who sued Fisker saying they owed them over $660,000. They were in the middle of 30 lawsuits for failed payments, including an engineering firm that helped develop their vehicles. Supposedly, they owed them $13 million. There were many more millions they owed on top of that, and they had stopped paying some suppliers as far back as August 2023. This brings us to a key question. How did any of this happen? As it turns out, this is Henrik Fisker's second attempt at this. Fisker Inc. was originally an entirely separate company called Fisker Automotive. It even had Leonardo DiCaprio as an investor. But sure enough, Fisker Automotive also had issues like battery failures and financial mismanagement. The crazy part is that Fisker Automotive also went bankrupt way back in 2013. Its assets were bought by a Chinese investor who rebranded the company as Karma Automotive. Then Henrik formed Fisker Inc. in 2016 and the cycle repeated. That's right, Henrik Fisker has gone bankrupt twice with two separate EV companies under his own name. Fisker was in bad shape long before Marcus Brownlee got to them. There were even more wild issues going on that I didn't have time to cover, like them pinching spare parts from a supplier.
But my reviews technically are not for them. All that any honest review actually does is just accelerate whatever was already going on.
He accelerated their downfall for sure, but if a startup loses $500 million and can't figure out where its revenue went and can't pay its suppliers, it's probably gonna die anyway. Maybe Marcus prevented that Nissan lifeline? Who knows? But in my opinion, Marcus isn't the reason Fisker died, but he did take them out back and finish them off. Another company that was exposed and largely killed off by YouTubers is Newegg. Check out this video to learn more, but until then, I'm Hari, and I'll see you guys on the next one.